Today, we have an awesome special guest hailing from A1 Comics, the one and only. Let's bring him in. Wes!
Hey, what's up?
What's going on, man?
Hey, how's it going, Chris? Hopefully my feed looks all right. I'm on the phone. I'm working with limited technology today.
Hey, you're all good.
Right.
You're here. We see you. We hear you loud and clear. I think that's probably the most important.
Good. I like it, man.
Yeah.
How you doing?
It's been crazy, man, to say the least. So, I know I was chatting with you today, and I'll let everyone here know, it's been a crazy, I don't know how many days, and I wasn't really feeling it today. Wes and I were talking about getting together, and I was like, Wes, we might need to postpone. But then I kicked myself in gear and said, Wes, not only are we doing a video, I want to bring you live. Let's do this live. And you're like, I'm down. So here we are.
Yeah, here I am, man. Ready to talk it up. I know that you and I had talked about a few different things. I know that people associate me with A1, and right now, obviously, I do work for A1, but I do want to give my opinion as a retailer, and also my opinion as somebody that's been a part of the comic collecting hobby pretty much all my life too. So I'm going to basically give you my opinion on. I'm assuming you already were kind of queuing that up, talking about some of the drama, if you will.
I love that, Wes. So thank you for again, chat. I think this is very imperative right now, because I do feel, and we're going to talk about this a little bit too, there's a lot of us against them mentality right now. And while accountability should always go around, no one is without accountability. This us against them is, to me, doesn't ever solve anything. And I love the fact that you came in here saying, I represent A1, I represent a retailer, but I'm also Wes, and I love comic books, and I'm a comic book fan and in this hobby just like anyone else here. So I appreciate that perspective. Absolutely. So we're gonna come down to kind of the nitty gritty of this whole the macro analysis of everything that's been going on these last couple of weeks with C2E2 and this Black Friday exclusive. Now, I've gotten into I won't take too long talking about this, but just to again sum this up. I did my first stream like the first day when there was hardly any information. Yeah. And I came and did my first stream because I saw certain individuals in this community that seemed to have nothing but fingers pointing at other people, pitchforks. And it seems that, they hide behind good intentions, or they seem to state that, I'm here for the community and I want to hold people accountable. But it seems to always be so toxic, and people's names were getting thrown under the bus before we even knew anything. And these same people have thrown me under the bus before. And I threw my hands up and I was tired of it. So I came on, I did a stream addressing that toxicity. But then the other half of the stream, I addressed the valid concerns that everyone seems to have over accountability, right? And then I did another stream. I went away. I was actually out of town. I did another stream focusing on the CGC issue, and we covered some more of those issues today. But I want to end my chat with you today going back to this, the accountability within the community, especially when talking about influencers. And again, I hate that word. It's like, what is an influencer? Is it somebody that has a YouTube channel? And if so, well, how many subscribers do they need to have? Is it somebody that is a seller? Well, if they're only selling dollar bin books, are they not influencers, or do they have to be selling Action Comic #1s and AFP? So I hate that word, but YouTubers, sellers, whatnot, sellers. And then you have everyone that's in this community on social media, on Instagram, on YouTube, and so forth and so forth.
Yeah.
I believe that there is a proper way of handling things. And when I say proper way, it doesn't mean a cookie cut, it just means we have to hold ourselves. If we want to hold other people to accountability, we have to hold ourselves to a certain level of accountability in how we address things, how we talk about things, how we talk about others. And I think that by doing this, that allows us to be productive instead of being counterproductive. Because I think we tend to shoot ourselves in the foot and breed more toxicity, even if our intentions are good, when we're trying to just, reap, or not reap, but, God, find the answers within the commonality of us as collectors. We don't want shady practices going on. We don't want people taking advantage of the collectors and all these things that came out of this. In your own words, and then this could be you as Wes, you're not, this is you as a collector,
sure,
stepping away from, you being a retailer, but you could probably bring retail savvy into this too. And I don't know, because this affects all of us, but I just want you kind of to do your best to sum up, how do we move forward with our frustrations, with holding people accountable, but doing it in a way that isn't counterproductive and doesn't perpetuate an us against them mentality. And I'll say one more thing before I let you jump in, because
sure,
regardless of you folks like it or not, like people on YouTube, we're here on YouTube and we're not going anywhere. People selling on Whatnot, they're not going anywhere. Influencers, sellers, whatever, Whatnot probably isn't going anywhere. CGC isn't going anywhere. Black Flag and other retailers like them, they're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So Wes, how do we do this? How do we move forward in a productive, respectful manner?
Well, I think that, again, I talked about this a minute ago, but like the whole community policing itself is a great thing. I think that, the fact that people have for the most part, you have a pretty good open line of communication, or with a lot of these, like you want to call them influencers or whatever. A lot of people will, if you comment, or if you send a lot of people, even if you send them a DM, even, like you can, there's ways to getting a hold of people, or if you like really feel like something they did, there's a way to address it. You can reach out to people. And I feel like maybe like start having like a healthy conversation about like what's really going on, and find out if it's just a misunderstanding or what the intentions are, before, we open up like this big can of worms or whatever. But because I mean, that's the thing is that, part of it is how it looks like from the outside, but also what's the story? What are all the stories? And because if we can find that out, then maybe we can have a discussion about like, hey, like what really happened here, so that we can make sure it doesn't happen again. Because, again, we don't want people to feel burned. We don't want somebody to buy what they thought was a exclusive variant or something and spend hundreds of dollars. And, most people, like, if they're buying a variant or they're spending that kind of money on a exclusive or whatever, hopefully they have that kind of money. But hopefully you don't have somebody that's new to this hobby, drops that kind of money, and is doing it, overextending themselves, thinking like, I'm getting something really cool. And maybe they're hoping that it'll turn into a profit or investment or whatever. And then they find out it's worth nothing in the future. They go to sell it, and then they don't get nothing. They don't get anything in the future. I'm just saying that could be a situation where it just really, somebody feels like they got screwed over. And I think like that's, that would be really sad. As somebody that cares about this hobby, like it would be really awful to hear that, somebody, really feel like they got screwed over because of something like that. And I think that as long as, communication is clear and like, we're letting people know like, hey, this is exactly what you're buying. Or if people feel like it wasn't clear, they're able to kind of like hash it out. Because, we don't want that door to be shut and them to be on the outside looking in, feeling like, hey, what happened to me? You know what I mean? Like, how did I end up with this book that's worth nothing and whatever? That would be awful. So I think, communication and especially with intent is key, Yep.
Absolutely. And I want to add to that. I mean, you're echoing what I believe, at heart here, communication and intent. I want to add to intent though. And I've talked about this on my channel because I've learned, when we're in a position of power to influence, and I got JLS's comment up here. I'll talk about that in a minute, but with the road to hell is paved with good intentions. That
yeah.
Saying, even when our intent is good, we have to be mindful of the perception, folks, as well. So we have to kind of humble ourselves at times and recognize that and try to, and that's why communication paired up with intent is very important, because intent can be misinterpreted very easily, especially on social media, and often, and it can lead to this, this big blow up that it started from a misunderstanding or misunderstanding that intent because of a false perception. So I think it's very important. I want to read JLS's comment here. Anyone who impacts another's perception, again, perception, or actions is an influencer. So technically, we're all influencers in one way or another. And the reason why I highlight this is because I've said this before to everyone here. You guys here in this chat, you have as much whatever, we can weigh the percentages or ratios. You guys have influence on everyone here, just like I do or Wes does today. When you guys are on Instagram, sharing your pickups and expressing your concerns about CGC or this or that or influencers, you guys are influencing too. We absolutely, JLS, so true. We all have power and responsibility to influence perception. And that, again, with great power comes great responsibility. When you guys are on Instagram, sharing your pickups and, expressing your concerns about CGC or this or that or influencers, you guys are influencing too. We absolutely, JLS, so true. We all have power and responsibility to influence perception. And that, again, with great power comes great responsibility. We all have that responsibility. It goes back to the first thing I let in talking about this point. We have to hold ourselves accountable as well. Yeah. We have to be willing to have the conversations. We have to give people the benefit of the doubt before we crucify them. Yeah. And we have to try to see things from different perspectives. And I always say, absolutely, Wes, what's really important for me is that, and I give my experience in, doing debate in college where, you pick a very controversial topic and you're like, oh yeah, I can argue that. And they're like, argue against your personal beliefs. And you're like, whoa. And then you have to do that. And we have to be able to at least see the other side of things to really validate our own argument and our own concerns. So I think in Wes, I want to reiterate too, just you being here today. Again, I love that you introduced yourself as Wes, as this comic book enthusiast, as this comic book lover, and not just Wes, A1 Comics retailer, because I think it goes to show, and I really want to end on this point for everyone watching this. This goes back to why it sickens me that we have this us against them mentality. We are all humans, and the majority of people that are in this for business reasons are still the same as you. LCS owners open LCSs for the most part, because probably one day, at one point in time, they were the kid going into the LCS or going into the newsstand or the gas station. Oh yeah, that comic book off the rack, and they have a love for this. I'm here. This is a business. Journals Comics is a business, but I'm here because I love this hobby and I don't want to do anything else. I hope I can keep doing this. Wes, I'm sure you work at A1 because it adds on to that love and joy of, what you've held inside since you were a child within this hobby. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me, I mean, I remember, I'm not going to go too far down this, but I mean, I kind of grew up, I didn't grow up with a lot. And one of the things that I remember is when, I was having a hard time or when I would do something good, my dad would buy me a comic. He'd buy me a comic and it would just be a random comic. It would be, you know what I mean? You buy something off rack or whatever. And I remember at one point, I had my first short box of just random, no runs, just random stuff. I didn't know how the stories ended. You know what I mean? And when I could, I would scrounge up money to get a book. And, to me, it's crazy because it's I work in a shop where, I see every key imaginable. But that was, ingrained in my life. So yeah, it's definitely, and I'm sure you have similar experiences in your life. And
Brian, the owner of A1, when I'll get in a new collection or I'll get in some cool stuff and I'll show him, and he's like a kid. Like, he looks like he's a businessman, but he'll look at those books with the same kind of excitement you would look at them, and just open them up and flip through them. And so yeah, I mean, obviously in it to make a living, be able to feed our families and be able to keep the lights on and all that stuff, because we have to. But at the end of the day, we all care about this hobby and stuff like that. And I think that, I'm not going to sit here and go play devil's advocate too much or go and get into the weeds with the whole controversy and all that. But a lot of the people involved, I'm sure that there are people that got into this hobby too, or there's people that may have made mistakes or whatever. And again, miscommunication, whatever. So I think that going back to what you said, figuring out a way to have a conversation and figuring out what's going on and be able to sort it out and get this community good again. You know what I mean?